Welcome back, everybody, to Making Speed. This is episode 21-ish, give or take
20?
1, plus or minus. Anyway, we're going to go with episode 21. No Alexander, Charles Cruz, and today we have Doug Campbell. Doug is a good friend of ours. He also handles sales, marketing, and PR for Super Duperformance. They make Cobras. They are, in my opinion, which nobody has seemed to care about in the past, one of the best built Cobra replicas out there. They're built in South Africa. We don't know why. We're going to find out today. They were used in the great new flick, Ford versus Ferrari. We don't know why. We're going to find out today. Oh, no, we know why. Because
kind of. Oh, he went away.
He's back. Anyway,
right.
Doug, thank you for coming on the podcast. We really appreciate your time.
Hey, my pleasure. Always fun hanging out with you guys, and a little risky.
Yeah,
That it is. Yeah.
it could get weird in a second, but we're going to try to keep things on track, unlike with Christy last week. She ran her own show, but we discussed, virus
but
outbreaks.
cars.
Yeah, everything but cars. But we're gonna try to, I don't know. We're going to see. So
We're going to see if we can make you blush, turn red a little bit,
Is that a good way of saying we really don't have a plan, so we're just going to see what
Oh, no,
happens?
we have a
no,
plan.
we have
See,
no.
he's
Look,
got notes,
we have
I've got
legal.
notes.
Yeah, we've got these are.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, we're prepared.
Yeah, you
I can't see those.
It looks like you're looking at them. So we first met Doug at SEMA 2018.
Actually, I met
Seven.
you guys SEMA 2017 for the very first time, but you probably don't remember.
Well, that wasn't really a meeting. That was more of a stalking, it sounds like.
It was. You were sitting at the bar at the Westgate, shock and surprise.
Yeah.
And I was a big fan of your show. I loved your show, and I loved the cars you did. So I just walked up and said hi, and you guys were like really, really nice.
I feel like he's about to. I feel like he's setting us up for some kind
There's
of
something
insult.
coming. Yeah.
Nothing. All right.
So
well,
then
thanks.
you came back
thanks.
the next year for some more.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then the next year ended up in the same booth with Rich Waitis from MagnaFlow, who's also been a guest on Making Speed. That's a great episode to listen to.
Well, thank you.
And
He's so professional, isn't he?
yeah, we got to hang out a little bit and get to know each other a little more, and then we got to hang out in Riyadh. So yeah, we got lots to talk about.
So in
Yeah.
2018, you brought your six-cylinder powered
Six-cylinder.
six-cylinder it's a GT40 called the Future 40. What is wrong with that
Yep.
screen?
It's on here though. I think it's just dropping on the monitor.
Oh, sorry, our monitor's going crazy. Anyway, we can edit that out because of the magic of Tim. Anyway, called the Future 40, and it's futuristic because it lost two
cylinders.
cylinders.
Yeah.
Anyway,
That's how they do it in California, right?
so can you, for people who don't know about the Future 40, can you just give us a little bit of the down low? No doubt.
Yeah, I had a career in corporate America before I came to work for, as you say, Super Duperformance. And, when I started working here, I'd had my Daytona Coupe for about 12 years. And when I started working here, I fell in love with the GT40. And so I'd start immediately planning my GT40 build. And I was just in love with the Mark I GT40 and the whole story from the 60s. So I was also in love with the new Ford GT Le Mans car. And so I had the idea one day to kind of mix the two together and take my favorite thing from the old Mark I from the 60s and kind of mix it up with the new Ford GT that won Le Mans in 2016. So that was the invention of the future GT40. So I took the modern livery, the modern aero, the modern wheels, and incorporated the modern drivetrain on the Mark I chassis and body, and that became the Future 40.
And it's pretty
It's
badass
awesome
looking.
car.
Yeah.
We
So
still haven't gotten a ride in that, even though we gave him a ride in our Chevelle at SEMA. That's okay.
Yeah.
I mean, one of these days he'll take us for a ride.
maybe.
That was fun being in the back seat of a Chevelle with you guys
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Moving on.
Moving on.
in the back alleys of Vegas.
So is the if people don't remember, the car debuted in the very front of the Magna Flow booth,
Yep.
and I don't know, where is it now? Do you still own
It's
this?
actually right here in the shop. I've got the engine out, and it's on its way back now from RPG Racing Engines up in Fresno, and they're building it for more power. They put better internals in it, Did a lot of porting and matching and all that fancy stuff that Paul does for you guys.
Nice.
And yeah, should be making right at 725 horsepower on 20 pounds of boost with E85 when it comes back.
So they added 2 cylinders to it there?
Or boost?
No, but
oh god.
Here's one of the extra cylinders, and then there's one more of these that'll go on there. So
Okay.
I
see.
We go.
I see.
Garrett.
If you don't, maybe we should.
Would you like to do a shout out to anybody else while you're putting things in the camera like that?
Yeah, Willwood disc brakes, Aeromotive fuel systems, HPS hoses. I can go on and on.
It's all right. This is good stuff. So did you get
obviously MagnaFlow? Rich Waitis, actually, in all seriousness, Rich Waitis did a masterful job. It is the best sounding V6 EcoBoost engine on the planet.
That thing does sound cool.
Does,
so how much were you able to drive it before the engine came back out? And
did you almost go to jail driving it?
Yeah, I did have to go to court. I put about 4,000 street miles on it with a few track miles before the engine came out. It was really supposed to happen right after SEMA because, you know, we were under a crunch for SEMA. We didn't have time to do the full build on the engine. But I was having so much fun driving it. Took it out to Auto Club Speedway here in Fontana and ran it on the Roval course out there a few times. Actually did sound recording for a video game with Warner Brothers out at an airstrip in the California desert and got to go through the gears and have fun. But it really needs more power. The real purpose of the car wasn't even SEMA to begin with. It's really to do a top speed run and drive over 200 miles an hour. So now it's time to finally get down to business and get that done.
Are you going to go do what's the one at the
Texas Mile?
Texas Mile?
I actually talked, one of the guys that really loved the car that I had a great time meeting at SEMA 2018 was Aaron Kaufman. And so I talked to Aaron about that, and he put his info on my phone with a funny profile pic that he took himself. And so that's a possibility. There's also the Mojave Mile and a Half out here and a few other events I'm looking at. So
was that the
it should
year
be
you were
fun, but
wearing
it's still going to be a drivable street car. They wanted to build it to 900 to 1,000 horse, which they can easily do, but I wanted to keep it kind of mild.
It's pretty, I mean, how much does that car weigh? 2,400 pounds?
Exactly, yeah, about 2,400 pounds.
Yeah, see, I know my stuff. They say I don't. It's well known that I don't know my stuff, but I just wanted to prove that to you. I knew that. Pounds, baby. There's one of those top speed mile runs somewhere in the Midwest, isn't there? Which is the one that Jesse Greening?
I think it's in Arkansas.
Jesse Greening went and did it in the Maverick.
Yeah.
It sounds like a kind of more.
What did he do in that car? Over 200.
Over 200, yeah.
220, I think.
It sounds pretty laid back. Like there are really not that many people there. Maybe a kind of a different deal than the Texas Mile, but I don't know. If you went to the one in Arkansas, we'd meet you there with straw coming out of our teeth
and banjos
in a canoe.
What? Done.
Change your life,
man.
I'm
down for that, big time.
We'll change your life.
Nice.
I don't even know what to say to that.
What was your first?
I don't know why I said it.
What was your first, Superformance car that you ever had? Because you've had
it was
a couple.
the Daytona Coupe.
Okay.
I bought that. I ordered it in May of 2005, and in the 15 years I've had it, I've put over 60,000 miles on it, about 2,500 track miles, and just beat that car to death, and it just keeps taking it. And I love that car.
It's not your car anymore, though, right?
No, as part of the deal to do the GT40, I had to promise that to my wife, Marisa. So it's her daily driver now.
And just to be clear, she was supposed to be on here today instead of you, but she got hung up with something else. So you'll do.
I just automatically assume that now whenever anybody asks me to be somewhere, they just really wish it was Marisa and not me, but I get it.
It's okay.
Have you been in the past the understudy for a lot of women? Is that why they chose? What do they choose? Is that what happened? If you played I don't know. I'm not
sure. Actually, can you tell us about your days of a stunt double for Bruno Massel?
Oh man, I got to spend a lot more gym time.
Was that what you meant by working in corporate America before? Was that what you meant by your past job?
It's so funny, because I like Bruno's show. I've met Bruno a few times. We've gotten some pictures together at SEMA and joked around with each other. It's a little freaky, but yeah, I get that. Well, when we were at Barrett Jackson just this past January in Scottsdale, which seems like light years ago now with everything that's going on, I came up. There was some guy talking to you guys, and asked me to take a picture of you guys together. And he looks at me and goes, "Oh my God!" And he thought I was Bruno. So it's funny.
Have a good time with it. That's what I say.
Yeah. Yeah,
Make some bad jokes.
It's been fun. I take it as a big compliment because Bruno's not a bad looking dude.
He's a good guy too.
So which was the car that was getting you in trouble with the frozen banana police? And frozen banana island.
That was the.
Wait,
you might have to clarify that one later.
So, Doug lives on Balboa Island, which is the home of the frozen banana stand, which I only know about because of Arrested Development, which Doug has never seen in the first place, even though he lives.
Don't you live in Barry McGuire's guest house? Is that true?
No, Barry sold his house on Balboa Island.
It's Larry McGuire. Larry
McGuire. Yeah. So now you're squatting in the main house then.
I live under his patio.
I live under his. We've installed a tarp underneath the deck so we don't get rained on.
We made a promise to be nice, but
tarp sounds pretty luxurious. I'd love to have a tarp.
So the Balboa Island Police, also known as the Banana Boys, Banana Hammock. Also,
the Bicycle Police.
The Bicycle Police had a. I can't say that after saying banana.
Don't say that.
The Balboa Island Police had it out for you.
Yeah, they had a firm banana for me and my car.
For him.
And it was because of it was a noise violation. Is that how it started?
Actually, Marisa and I were cruising home one day, and we were just headed down PCH, and all of a sudden I look in the rearview mirror and see flashing lights. It was a motorcycle cop, and he wasn't familiar with the laws around specialty constructed vehicles. And so I guess because he was on a motorcycle, he could smell some emissions coming out of the car that maybe would imply it's not the cleanest running car on the planet.
Right.
Because there's no cats required or anything like that. And so basically it was for emissions. The noise certainly probably got his attention, that great MagnaFlow sound. Nobody can resist it.
Plug.
And so, yeah, he wanted to impound the car. He kept us on the side of the road for about an hour and a half. But finally went to court, and the judge was knowledgeable and educated him on specially constructed vehicles. And we got all that behind us.
And then what happened next? Isn't it part
What do
of?
you mean? What happened next?
Isn't it?
They went home and drank isogenics.
Oh God.
Well, but then you managed to take that all that stress and you turned it around on your wife, right?
I actually did. Yeah. We actually played that into a prank. She is season 10, episode 2 of Overhaulin, which can be found on the Motor Trend app. And will air on Motor Trend Cinco de Mayo.
That was plug number 3.
And Chip Foose overhauled her Daytona along with the A-Team, which is pretty cool.
It is cool. And it was at SEMA this year.
It was, yeah. So I went from having a dream of attending SEMA to getting paid to go to SEMA to having a car on display at SEMA to having another car the very next year on display at SEMA, which I never even dreamed would happen. So that was pretty cool.
And just think, a couple of years ago, you were living under Barry's deck.
Right.
I know. Now I'm living under Barry's deck, and I've had 2 cars at SEMA.
That's why he has the money for the 2 cars at SEMA.
Exactly.
Nice.
Yeah. Still waiting for my stimulus check so I can go buy more parts.
Yeah, I bought a Superformance Cobra the other day with my $1,200 stimulus check.
Wow, you got a deal, dude.
I haven't gotten one yet. I don't know what's up with that.
I don't either. It's not like you don't know who to call.
This is a version built in East St. Louis, not South Africa. It's a different version, but it's kind of a Superformance.
That's a sub-performance.
Sub-performance, yeah.
Yeah, it's the malt liquor beverage Cobra. I don't know if you've ever had it before, but it's pretty good.
It's the Anheuser-Busch Performance.
So run us through some of the stuff that was done to the Daytona Coupe 2.0 version.
Holy smokes!
I don't want you to spoil anything, but it was already at SEMA, so.
And the episode aired in November while we were in Riyadh together. So.
I thought you said it was going to air in May. Re-air?
On the Motor Trend channel, linear TV. It was on the Motor Trend app back in November, the week we were in Riyadh. So it's actually on the app.
Okay, so nobody saw it
on the app.
But because they don't know how to use the app. But they do love the Motor Trend channel.
And they don't.
I love the app.
And they don't want to pay $2 a month for
RIP Velocity and Speed channel.
It's a great value. I love it.
Currently just $199 for
Chip went nuts on this car. It was funny because I submitted the car thinking I wouldn't even hear from anybody, and 2 days later I get a call from Bub Brutzman, the producer, and I heard from Rich Waitis because he was sitting with Chip when they were going through the applications, and the minute Chip saw the car, he didn't even read the applications. He said, "We're doing that one." He's a big time fan of Peter Brock, who designed the Daytona Coupe and named his son Brock. Part of that had to do with Pete. So he just was in love with the car and went crazy on it. He spent like 1,400 man hours in body work before it went to paint, changing every line on the car.
God,
it's awesome looking.
It is cool.
And it has, I'm trying to think, did he split the bumpers on it? Does he?
Yeah, it didn't have any bumpers. So Chip's vision was to turn it into what a street version of a Daytona Coupe would have been like back in the day if they had taken the race car and actually made a street car out of it. So he took Jag type bumpers, split bumpers, and put those on the front, changed the whole shape of the opening in the nose. He changed the shape of the vent up on the front of the hood, closed off the other vents on the hood, changed the side vents completely, changed the roof line along the side where the side windows are, and put custom glass. Good job, Eddie Cotto from Cotto's Custom Glass. Put the glass in.
Plug number 4.
Changed the whole shape around the rear hatch, flared the fenders front and rear for wider wheels, put a new engine in it, new interior, just tons and tons of stuff.
It is truly over the top looking. So
it is. And then probably the most controversial thing on the car is the Hawaiian print, which I told Chip no to on my insider meeting, and he did anyway. But it actually turned out to be pretty cool the way he did it on the car.
It is cool.
Yeah, it's very cool. Is there a place online where people can see more pictures of it? Is it featured on any website, or is it?
I don't know. I need to do that, huh? I probably should. They can go to my Facebook page or my wife's Facebook page or Instagram page. And probably see stuff there.
Maybe if they hadn't killed all those magazines, it could have been on the front cover of one.
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah. Whoops.
Sorry. That was my axe noise. Well, Tim's supposed to have noises ready for when I say something, that there's like an axe noise or like a chainsaw or like a bomb going off, but that's clearly not happening.
I'll do it in post.
All right, we're going to do it in post.
He's probably too busy covering the mute button.
Yeah.
No censors here.
So, I was able to, back when people went to movies and other public places a few months ago, I took my son to see Ford versus Ferrari. He was all jazzed up about Ford versus Ferrari. I don't know what got him, but he was like all into the title. He didn't really know what it was about. I was like, oh, it's a racing movie. It's really cool, and I kind of told him the backstory. So we went and saw it, and it was actually really cool until there's a car crash at the end, which was confusing for a child. And he said, "Dad, where did the main character go?" And I was like, "Well, he died, son. But he died in the 60s, so it's been a while. But yeah, that did not end well for him. But anyway, how many cars did you guys supply for that movie? Was it like 20 or 30 or something crazy?
Yeah, man. Once again, you know your stuff. 29.
Yep.
How did you guys get approached with that deal?
James Mangold got in touch with us, the producer, and it was pretty cool. One day I'm sitting here in my office, which looks right out on the showroom, and I see James and his team walk in, and so I went out and helped them walk around the showroom. And then one of the other cool things about working here is one of the guys that works here with me is Rich McDonald, and his dad's Dave McDonald, who drove for Shelby back in the 60s, drove NASCAR, tragically died at his first IndyCar race where he qualified as a rookie, had a big crash on the first lap with Eddie Sachs driving the Mickey Thompson Special and passed away. But Rich has been carrying all that history forward, and of course knew all the stuff with Ken Miles and his son Peter. So Rich really coordinated a lot of the movie involvement that we had with that. And, you know, it's just really, really cool. The Cobras that they drove, the main GT40, that was the star of the show, Daytona Coupes and some 427 Cobras we all supplied, along with a couple other cars. So it was very cool to be a part of that.
Did you get to go watch the filming get done?
No, I was back here selling cars.
Oh. What happened to all the cars, by the way, that were in the movie? Were they crashed, burned, gone, sold?
No, actually, none of the cars were completely destroyed. Some came back with like seats missing. One came back with a radiator missing. A few little things like that, but really nothing too bad. Two of the cars, it's pretty cool. The blue car, the little blue 289 Cobra that Matt Damon drove in the movie. Aaron Shelby, who now runs Shelby American, bought that car because it played his grandfather's car in the movie. And then the white number 98 car that Christian Bale threw the wrench at and broke the windshield.
Yeah.
That one was bought by Peter Miles, Ken's son. Peter's been a good friend of ours for years, so
nice.
That was pretty cool that he bought the car that played his dad's car. And then Rich McDonald, who works here, bought the red 289 Cobra that played his dad's car in the movie.
Oh, wow. That's cool.
Yeah.
So were you guys in charge of maintaining those cars when they were, or basically you're like, here's the cars, and then they had their own squad of maintenance goons?
When they were doing most of the track work out at Willow, and then in Atlanta when they were filming a lot of the Le Mans scenes, we had a tech on site.
Right.
It was kind of funny. He spent most of his time working on the other cars that we didn't provide, which was funny.
So who built the replica for the Ferrari? Do you know that?
Yeah, race car replicas supplied. I think they supplied 28 cars for the movie, but like the Ferrari P4, P3.
Right.
And then some of the other GT40s, they used the same chassis for those, and then LS motors, and then the bodies. So it's a little different way to go about it than us, but they were able to supply those. And the Ferraris looked pretty cool, I thought.
I thought the Ferraris looked awesome. And then I know some of those GT40s, did they stretch them out and they had like a camera, almost like a limo style, like where the front looked like the car and the back had like a camera on it. And
yeah, James actually talked about that the first time he came here, about, you know, how the rear clamshell comes off so they could mount cameras on the back. And then they would put them on these sleds, which was really cool because then you have the actors inside and they're dragging these sleds. It's like like a flatbed truck, but super low, so they could actually film all that stuff. And the other cool thing is Christian Bale got into it so much. He went to Bondurant school, and so that's why they say he was able to react so well even when he was in the sled, to make it look like he was really driving, because he actually went through and did some high performance driving training.
I think he gets into every movie he does, right?
Cool,
in that type of way.
Yeah, for sure.
So, it was a good movie. So what happened to the cars? Did they wreck anything? Did anything get seriously damaged? Or
none of our cars. I know some of the other cars got destroyed, like that one Ferrari. They actually launched that thing over a ramp. So if you remember the big crash scene where the Ferrari goes up in the air and crashes upside down in front of Ken Miles, that was a real car. That wasn't CGI. They actually launched that car off a ramp.
Didn't they like shoot it with like a cannon or something? Like, is it? Right?
Yeah, I forget what they didn't like strap a rocket to it, but I forget what they did. But they launched it with, I think, like a catapult kind of thing.
Yeah, that's what it looked like.
Yeah.
Straight.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
Like hundreds of feet through the air. I saw a video of that. It's totally crazy.
So how have sales been since the movie came out? Did it just like drastically increase everything, or is it about the same?
No, it's increased for sure. I mean, literally almost, that movie came out when we were over in Riyadh. That was right when the movie came out.
Right.
And so like we'd get back to the hotel like midnight, 12:30, and I was up till 4:30 because of the time difference, answering sales calls every night. So I was getting like 2-3 hours of sleep every day.
Oh.
We noticed when we had breakfast with you.
Yeah, I know. I look pretty rough, huh?
Yeah. We didn't want to say anything at the time. It's okay.
Actually, you did.
Oh, did we?
Like, hey, good morning. You look like shit.
It's hard. It was hard to sleep over there because it was how many? Was it 10 hours?
9 hours difference for us. Yeah.
Yeah, 11 for us.
Yeah.
That's the problem. You try to go to sleep and then be real tired, and then you lay down in bed and nothing. Or you'd fall asleep and you'd be like, "Oh yes, this is great," and then wake up like 3 hours later. So all out of whack.
I definitely had to catch up on some sleep when I got home from that one.
When did your cars show back up from over there?
We just got the last. We sent 11 total over. We had 6 show up about 6 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And then the last 5 showed up about 3 weeks ago.
Wow.
Wow.
And did you sell any when you were over there?
No.
Nothing?
But it is funny. One of the cars we just got back 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
The day it came back, which would be 3 weeks ago tomorrow, the day it came back, I got a call from a guy, really nice guy, who is in England. He has a house in England, but his home is in Bahrain.
Right.
He actually bought one of the cars that just came back that day, and now it's going back to Bahrain.
That's the way it goes.
Yeah.
Where do you guys sell most of your cars? Is there what I mean, we kind of have a thing with sales that's like they always seem to kind of go everywhere, but most of our cars go to the same, kind of same general areas. Where do you guys see most of your sales going?
For me, it's all over.
Oh, yeah.
It's really all over. We've got cars going everywhere. I'm talking to a guy right now in Hawaii about a sale. Just had a local sale. The guy just came in today to sign all his title paperwork.
Does that happen very often where people just walk into your showroom and look around like they would at a new car store and buy something?
Well, this guy that came in to sign his paperwork today, it's about the 4th time it's happened to me in 4 years that I've been doing this. He just came in on a Friday about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And the cool thing is he had watched a ton of the videos that I would normally recommend for people to watch and actually knew who I was from one of the ones I did with Autotopia LA. And so he's like, "Oh, I don't have any questions. I know everything I need to know." And then he just pointed at one and said, "Can we go for a test drive in that one?" I was like, "Sure." And I wasn't even like a mile down the road. And he's like, "Okay, I'm good. You can turn around. I'll take it."
Nice.
So
most of your sales come from people on the internet, I would assume.
Yeah,
Call-ins.
but I'd say 95% are from the internet, people calling on the phone.
Pretty much the same way it is here.
And then do they ship sight unseen for the most part?
They do. I try, like, if it's somebody here in the U.S. especially, I try and encourage them to come and see and drive the car because I like connecting people with cars that work for them, and I want them to have the full experience and know what they're getting as much as possible before they get it. Because Cobras aren't for everybody, GT40s aren't for everybody,
right? And
I want to make sure they're really happy with the car. So I encourage them to come and drive it before they take delivery. Like especially if it's like a custom factory order, I want them to come and make sure that if there's anything that needs to be tweaked or done that they want done, we get it done before we ship it. But yeah, it's such a good product actually that I've had really good success with my customers.
You recently sold a car to somebody pretty cool. Who was that?
Oh, yeah, the Red Rocker, Sammy Hagar.
Oh, that's right. I saw that.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. That was fun. Right before everything got locked down, I've been friends with Sammy's son, Aaron Hagar, for quite a while. A lot of people in the car community know Aaron. And so Aaron had talked to me a little over a year ago about a car for his dad. And then it kind of didn't really go anywhere. And then all of a sudden he's like, Dad had a real 1964 Cobra and he sold it and he's really missing it. So I ended up taking one of our 289 demo cars down to Sammy's house and hung out for a bit, went for a test drive, and he can drive, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And went for a nice drive and he put together an order. We're putting together a really special engine for him with some nice touches on it. And I was able to actually request an out-of-sequence serial number. That'll be a nice surprise for him, too. So it's going to be fun.
What color?
Wimbledon white. He wants
really?
classic.
Okay, that's cool.
Wimbledon white 289 Cobra. Black interior. We're going to do some special. We're going to do the kidney bean race-style wheels on it, like for the Sebring cars instead of the wires.
Yeah.
And put a little horsepower in it for him with a fuel-injected Roush motor.
Nice.
Roush 347 with throttle body EFI. It's going to be a nice package.
What was the car you guys had at, well, that's a stupid sounding question. My favorite car you guys had at Barrett this year was it? I think it was. You guys might have sold it too, but was it the FIA car?
Yeah.
Is that the one you sold on the? Is that the one you sold on the that went up on the block and sold?
Yeah.
Okay, that's my favorite.
Yeah, that was the 289 FIA, which was the real workhorse race car that helped him win the world title back in '65, and one of my favorite of the open Cobras. It's just I love driving those FIAs. It makes me feel like I'm a teenager trying to get in trouble again. It's just a badass little car.
And you guys nailed, I don't know. There's some other companies out there building Cobras that we won't mention their names, but I feel like you guys really get into the details on the cars, especially on that FIA car, because you guys, it's got a lot of little touches on it that replicate the original car. It doesn't just have some badges on the outside.
Yeah.
How did
the
all
partnership we have with Shelby is really cool. Allows us to do some fun stuff.
Yeah. How did all that come about with Superformance? How did that company start?
That company actually, it started, the reason it's in South Africa, you mentioned this before, is it's just where the company started. It was a man named Jimmy Price who started that company, and he had a passion for Cobras, and he started building a Cobra replica. And over the years, the business grew and grew. And Lance Stander, who now owns Superformance, bought the company from Jimmy about 15 years ago. And Lance was from South Africa, was familiar with the Cobras, had always been a huge fan of Carroll Shelby. And when Lance moved to the U.S., he moved the headquarters for Superformance here once he bought the company. He had been a dealer before that. That's where the Hillbank Motorsports comes from here.
There you go. Hillbank.
That's the retail side.
Plug.
Yep, hillbankusa.com. You can see all our inventory there.
And there's a meaning behind that name too, right? Hillbank.
Yeah, actually, Lance, his dad had an auto dealership, and it was next to a bank on a hill, and so he just called it Hillbank. And so he brought
creative.
That name.
Yes.
Yeah, he brought that name over here, and the Hillbank's been in business for over 40 years, and then Superformance for about 28 years. I think Superformance started, I'm not doing my math right, started I think in '96, and has now built over 4,000 cars.
And kind of, can you kind of detail, how the cars are set up and how they come, in roller form? Because I think that'd be interesting for people. Because there's a lot of different companies out there, and they all come kind of. Some are like build it yourself with some old 5.0 parts. Some are, some are built and with independent rear suspensions. And anyway, I'll turn it over to you.
Yeah. The Superformance, we do two versions of the car. We do the Superformance version, which is the licensed replica. It's the only replica licensed by Shelby, which is a really cool deal. And as part of that, we also build the Shelby continuation cars for Shelby. The continuation cars are all built to exact 1965 spec, and you can pick either a fiberglass or an aluminum body. The Superformance cars, the cool thing I like about these cars, it's kind of a lot of like what I see you guys do, where you make cars that are made to be driven, not just to be looked at, which is one of the things I loved about you guys from the beginning when you first had your show. And it's a modern chassis. It's a square tube frame chassis with unequal upper and lower A-arms, custom tuned Bilstein gas shocks, Willwood power disc brakes. It's like all the best of the best stuff. Right. Super stiff chassis. With the big wheel and tire package, it'll outrun a BMW M3 on a road course. Just handles and drives really, really nice, very reliable, holds its value really good. And we do the 289 slab side Cobra, which was the original Cobra. We do the FIA, which you mentioned. And then we do the 427 Cobra, which in the Superformance trim is called the Mark III. We do all those. And then we do the GT40 Mark I and Mark II. And then the last thing we added to our product line a few years ago, we chased General Motors for 8 years to get the license to do the Corvette Grand Sport, which was the exact replica continuation of the 5 Corvette Grand Sports from 1963.
Yeah,
I've never driven one of those. I've driven a lot of the Cobras. A few GT40s, a few Daytonas. I love the way the GT40 looks the best. I think I like driving the Cobra the best. I wouldn't have if you looked at all of them, I would have said I probably like, if you were to guess which one you like driving the best, I'd probably guess that Daytona would drive. But I really like the way the Cobra drives. It's open air. You feel like you're losing your hearing half the time. It's just kind of like the rawest car experience you can have, and it's pretty they're pretty amazing cars. So yeah, I don't know what else
you guys have successfully made it possible for taller guys like me to fit in those cars too, right? With all kinds of seat extenders and what else do you guys do? Rearrange the pedals too, or is it all
actually the big thing we did for guys like you it's probably about 5 years ago, is we did a 2-inch drop in the floor pans.
Okay.
And that got the seat down lower, because the problem most guys have, as much as leg room, is looking over the top or through the top of the windshield. And so to get somebody low enough in the car where they feel comfortable in the car and they look comfortable in the car, that's a huge deal. And then dropping you lower in the car also gets your knees away from the dashboard.
Right.
There's usually plenty of leg room. I've gotten customers up to 6'6". We have a common customer, Mike Majerick, who I sold a Cobra to, and he's like 6'6". His son's like 6'8", I think.
Yeah, they're tall.
His son
tall
even
people.
fit in the car comfortable. And then I think he got a Chevelle from you guys, right?
We are almost done with the Chevelle final assembly. It's pretty cool. So
probably
66.
about 3 weeks away from being done.
It's got an LS7.
I've been driving the cars. That's the best part about this thing, is meeting cool people like Mike and his son. And car people are like the best people ever. I love it.
Car people are the best people. I think that's what keeps us going. And everybody comes in. They're positive. They're pumped up. No matter what they're working on, it could be, just getting something running again, or tuning the carburetor, doing a full build, or it's a fun thing to spend money on, and they're kind of paying forward into a hobby they've been involved in for so long. So car people are the best people. So
yeah, and it's cool we have a common customer.
Yeah, and you hooked us up with them. So thank you.
Hey, he said he wanted an old Chevelle, and he wanted it to be a nice driving car. I'm like, there's only one person I thought of, so it's cool it worked out.
So let's say I want to build a Cobra. I do like a Mark III. How much is a roller on average? With kind of like the average amount of options. What's that going to run
around
me?
60, 62 for like an average roller. If you want the 18-inch wheel tire package, like 64 to 66, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
And then you get then you get to choose your drivetrain.
Yep.
And then you choose a third-party installer right now. That's pretty much how it works, correct?
That's how it works most often. We have a few people that do their own installs, but there's a few people that are really good at it around the country. We have a local shop here that does about 100 cars a year for us.
Yeah.
And builds the drift Cobras for SEMA, which were really cool. Mm-hmm. But yeah, typically, like for an all-done car, it can range anywhere from 80 grand all the way up to 115, 120 grand if you get really crazy with it.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
The one thing I've noticed about your cars is that they hold up really well compared to other people I've seen building the same kind of bodies. Like, I don't know what their process is in their fiberglass, but it is unbelievable. I've never seen anything like it out of any other fiberglass car that I've ever seen.
Because you'll see some that are 15 years old, older, and they still awesome. Look great,
Yeah, I sold 2 17-year-old cars a couple years ago that had miles on them. One had 22,000 miles, one had 31,000 miles. Sold them on consignment for the original owners, and got one guy like $4 more than he originally paid, and the other guy $6 more. So if you hold on to them, they actually hold their value super well. I had a retired LA Superior Court judge came in last year and traded in his 22-year-old Superformance that he bought from us, brand new, in for a brand new Superformance Mark III that he tricked out really cool. And like, it took 2 days to sell his car. And he even on a trade value, he got his money back, which is really cool.
Yeah.
It's hard to fight. You can't do that with a new car, obviously, as everybody knows. You drive off the lot and the value drops a ton. A year later, it's worth much less. But, I don't know, one of the cool things. So how often do they change the model? How often does the Mark III change? Does it pretty much go unchanged from year to year, or are there small updates that are made, or you get kind of done with development? How does it kind of go?
Yeah, the core of the car hasn't been changed since they started making it. I mean, the chassis is super good. That was a great design. Over the years, they changed from Ford racing brakes to the Willwood brakes. Mm-hmm. They changed the shocks from oil shocks to the custom-tuned Bilstein gas shocks that the Bilstein engineers worked with us on, make the car ride so well. We've changed rear diffs over the years. We started out, I think, with the 8.8 Superbird rear end with the 373 ratio, and then those got to be in short supply, so we changed over to a ZF 346 rear end, And now, just last year, we started using the rear end out of the new Mustang GT, which will handle pretty much anything you want to throw at it.
Yeah. What's the normal like age demographic of customer that you guys have?
I would say, gosh, it's like the guy that was just in this morning that just walked in and bought the car. He's in his 30s, got a young family. But I would say it does tend to be an older crowd. I've seen a trend toward younger guys now, and I think the
Right.
movies helped
Yeah.
with that a little bit. But I would say the average age is around 60, 65, but I'd say it's trending younger now.
Well, I think that was a really positive thing that came out of that movie. You know, like Noah said, his son got really interested in it. I know my two sons got really interested in watching that movie, and can appreciate those cars now. In fact, they've been on your site looking at all your stuff, and I think it's good. I hope there's a lot more traffic your way now because of that.
Yeah, I don't know if it really matters what generation you're from, but the Cobra, the Daytona, the GT40 are all badass looking, super tough cars. I think they have timeless design. So hopefully that continues to hold true,
Yeah.
moving forward. And the driving experience is undeniably just like raw and really amazing.
It's one of those cars. If you can get somebody to go for a ride in it,
Oh yeah,
if they have the money and can afford it, they're going to buy it. I would think. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know how you can ride it and come back and say, I don't think so. I mean, you come back with a big smile and open up your checkbook, right?
Yeah, I have a young guy that came in with his wife about a month ago, and he's just been going nuts. He wants a blacked out Cobra. We have one he's drooling over on the website right now. And he came in here, went for a test drive, and now he has literally his Ranchero, 2 motorcycles, and everything on Craigslist on the internet listed for
Yeah.
sale. He asks me like almost every day what the status of the car is, if it's still here, all kinds of great questions. But it's just cool to see somebody like in his age bracket that excited about the car. And what really excited was when he got to drive it, because he thought the car looked cool, but once he got to drive it, it's just like nothing else he ever drove. And
Yeah.
once a Cobra bites you like that, there's no turning back. You got to have one.
Well, I think they'll be around for a long time. I really do. I think it's just such a unique car, and that feel and that experience, and it's like the ultimate kind of street kind of nostalgic race car too, if you dress it that way. So it's cool.
we have one that just came in that we're about to have for sale, but it was built in 2017. And Southern Motors built the Ford power. They built a lot of Ford power plants for it. It's got a 427 Pond.
Big block.
Yeah, 427 Pond aluminum block. I think it's stroked to 482. Makes about 480 horsepower. It is a magnificent car, and the power is like the big block in that car. It just gobs of torque. It's the power is in, the torque curve is so. It's just nuts. Every gear pulls like a freight train. But it was one of our customers owned it, and then he's had some other engines built by the guys at Southern Motors. They put together a really nice package, very, very high-end internals. It's got a dual quad set up,
Yeah.
and it's just wicked. But I'm like, what else do you want it? But I keep I drove it, and then I'm like, it's like, it keeps calling me back. It's like, drive me some more. It's come over to the dark side. And I don't know, a lot of the cool thing about those cars is you go drive them 20, 30 minutes. You kind of got your fill. They're loud and fast. And you're like, all right, that's good. You kind of got enough. You can put away for a while. But there's not much out there, I think, that's truly you kind of the hair on your arm starts standing up a little bit. When you sit down in it, you just know it's going to be an awesome experience every time. You can't find that on many new cars.
Not really.
But that car delivers. I've had the Superformance cars kind of just deliver that time and time again, which is cool. So I don't know.
That car's got a heater too.
It's got a heater.
Yeah.
I drove it. It was nice and warm here, and now it's been a little about 35 degrees in the morning. So I drove this morning. It was 35 out. I had a hat on. I had the heater kicking, so it warmed up pretty quickly, and we were good to go. But yeah, it's kind of the best. It's a great car for that. It's a great car to have a heater, and I think because driving that car when it's 45 is a nice experience,
Yeah.
and maybe driving it when it's 95 in St. Louis in the summer is a different deal. So I don't know. It's a pretty sweet package. So.
Be a cool car for you and Charles to do one of your YouTube videos and driving around in the Cobra, and maybe put Paul in the trunk.
we've got a wee passenger. We want to introduce you to him, but we lost the keys to the trunk. Sorry.
Talking to the mic, Paul.
Poor Paul. Poor Paul.
Yeah, Paul's a good dude. And he also fits in trunks nicely. So
Yeah, you can get in those tight spaces, like, in the battery compartment of a Daytona Coupe, or
right.
Wherever you need to get.
So what are you doing for fun? What's on your schedule this year with all the things going on? I mean, I know you're a busy guy. You're out and about all the time, different events. What are you guys doing?
Yeah, it's fine with all the events, canceled right now. I'm still working really hard. I'm working 6 days a week, and then at home we've been doing like everybody else has been doing, been cleaning like everything in the house. I don't know how many bags of stuff we have for Goodwill now, cleaning out the house, but
throwing away Barry's clothes.
On the car side, I'm anxiously prepping everything for my engine to get back for the GT40. I'm really excited to do that. I'm going to change up some things that we did initially that looked really cool, but then functionally weren't so great. So going to change some things on that. And Garrett sent me some different size turbos. And so just be playing around with it to really optimize it and make it just as fun as possible. And that's going to take a while. We've been working with a company called Common Fibers to redevelop the canards and splitter for the front. And they're doing an incredible job. We got the new splitters, and they look fantastic. And now they're in the process of popping out some canards for me too.
Any future different models you guys are going to be coming out with in the next couple of years that we should know about? Any top secret projects?
One of the cool things, it got leaked a little bit, but I don't think it got broadly leaked, is Ford did a concept car back in 2001 called the GR1.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a kind of a modern interpretation of the Daytona Coupe. And it looked really cool. There's like a little bit of a maybe Aston Martin vibe to it. But it was a really cool car. It was done in polished aluminum back in the day. I think they have one that was painted as well. But it made the rounds like the Detroit International Auto Shows where it debuted and then went to SEMA. So we actually have that car in our showroom right now. And we've taken it to a couple of shows, but we signed a licensing deal with Ford to sell that under Ford's nameplate in Ford dealerships. But we're waiting for this Low Volume Manufacturers Act to pass so we can get that done.
Which keeps passing like a little bit at a time, or
it's passed but not implemented.
Right.
Passed but not. It's we were talking to Dan Kahn about this.
Yeah.
Is it passed federally but not implemented on a state level or something, or do I have it backwards?
Yeah, they passed the law federally. That's correct. But then certain states, which I won't mention, started making a fuss about, emissions. You can guess which state that is.
Yeah, California.
So now they're requiring that, the engines be, 50 state legal.
Right.
For emissions, which, really limits you because there's
to an LS
GM
engine.
E-Rod.
Basically.
For a Cobra, there's not a lot of choices.
Right. So they're all going to have LS engines or bust.
Yeah. Which we've done. You can put an LS engine in the Cobra, and it actually works really well. We've done LSs in the GT40s, in the Daytonas, in the Cobras. Mm-hmm. They work really well, but, a lot of people don't agree with putting a Chevy engine in a Ford. So, at least not in our world. They're less accepting than in the hot rod world.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
But even that's kind of changing in the hot rod world. I mean, years ago, everybody would do a small block Chevy in basically anything. And now, I mean, you see that going on with the LS engines a little bit, but they're trying to dress them to look like the appropriate engine, like a Ford engine or a Buick engine or Oldsmobile, whatever.
Well, I think you saw at Barrett-Jackson, we had a Cobra there with an LS motor that had the dress-up kit to make it look like a Ford Windsor.
Yeah.
Had the distributor in the front.
Right.
And the whole
It looked
deal.
good. Yeah.
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 It's pretty cool.
It looked really good. It drove great, too.
So where can people find you? I'm obviously going to integrate your cell phone number into the podcast so they
And
can
your
call you
address, too.
whenever they want. But
Absolutely.
you want to? Can you throw out? We'll put it in the corner. Is it what? Where is the what's the address of, or the web address of Hillbank?
Hillbank, it's hillbankusa.com, HILLBANK USA.com. And that's where you can see all our inventory and all that cool stuff. Obviously, there's superformance.com if you want to see all the models of the Superformance cars. not super performance.
Super duper performance.
Performance.
And if they call, they just have to use coupon code Noah and Charles to get how much off?
They'll add 20%.
Oh,
man.
that's like the opposite of a convenience.
We were working towards a free car, we thought.
The other option was just to hang up on them.
Can we still become a dealer for Superformance?
You can.
Sweet.
You got all the info.
I know.
Just call me.
The feet just drag on. They're just.
I know.
I don't know what's wrong with my feet.
We need to come out and visit when things are all lifted. And
Yeah.
You do.
Drive all the cars.
Or just move out here, Charles.
When the
maybe. Come to California.
You got family out here.
I do. It's too expensive out there. Too expensive.
On the podcast, they can't see the look Noah's giving you right now. Like, don't you dare.
He knows better.
Yeah.
I don't have any rich people that moved away that I can live in their house while they're gone like you do.
I don't know. I do just kind of fun. I love sharing the cars with people. So I do a little showroom pick of the day just about every day on social media. So you can check that out on Instagram or Facebook.
What's your Instagram handle?
Daytona 88 DC.
Every day there's a showroom pick of the day. Is it every day?
I try to do every day, every now and then. Like, today I'm spending a lot of time here. I got to go do a drive video after this for the customer in Hawaii. Wow. So I may not get time. I try and do it maybe later tonight. But most days, I would say 5 to 6 days a week, if not 7, I'll get a showroom pickup.
His other Instagram account is the original Bruno, right? They can find you there at the original Bruno.
If I have one, it would be at budgetbruno.com or whatever. Yeah, at Budget Bruno.
Budget Bruno.
Yeah.
Rent Budget Bruno.
Yeah, Christy Lee will tell you I'm a very low budget Bruno.
Lowbudgetbruno.com. The real low budget Bruno. All right, Doug. We really appreciate you coming on. Thank you for not embarrassing us with the stories that we paid you to. I don't know.
We hope we didn't embarrass you.
We hope.
Goddamn check better clear. That's all I got to say.
We stayed on topic. That was good.
How'd we do?
No, thank you guys.
All right.
Yeah, I was looking at all the past guests that have been on here. It's like, man, I feel pretty honored to be in the company of people like Shag Arrington and Christy Lee and Dan Kahn and all these industry folks. So thanks for lowering your standards for a week and letting me hop on.
We're into charities. We do it every once in a while.
You got to help. You got to help people out.
Yeah.
Doug, thank you.
All right. Thanks, Doug.
Thank you, guys.
All right. See ya.
See ya.